Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Deputy Commandant for Operations, United States Coast Guard, Vice Admiral Charles D. Michel.
Well, good evening, distinguished guests and shipmates. It's a great honor for me to participate in this well-deserved celebration of the great accomplishments and contributions of our extraordinary Sea Service veterans. I am particularly pleased to recognize the amazing achievements of former Senator and Coast Guardsman, the Honorable Sam Nunn, with the presentation of the Lone Sailor Award. Many of you may not know that Senator Nunn's first active duty service in the Armed Forces of the United States was with the nation's smallest, and I like to think the best, armed service, the United States Coast Guard. Yes, before his extraordinary service as chairman of the powerful Senate Armed Services Committee, overseeing the world's largest Department of Defense and ensuring our nation's military was equipped with the latest and most capable weapon systems, and before his monumental efforts on the world stage in countering the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, Senator Nunn began his career in public service modestly in June of 1959 as a seaman apprentice, where nearly all enlisted Coast Guard members get their start, at our boot camp at our training center at Cape May, New Jersey. There, Seaman Apprentice Nunn excelled as a Coast Guardsman, running the obstacle course, playing basketball and other team sports, and displaying his natural talent for swimming, obviously a very important trait for a Coast Guardsman in order to be able to swim. In fact, Seaman Apprentice Nunn was so good at all this that he was asked to stay on as permanent party at boot camp, where he was given, among other assignments, the task of training other recruits in swimming. I also understand that during his stay at Cape May, that Senator Nunn was subjected to our notorious summer mosquitoes, and that he once commented that, quote, "It was the only blood I shed for the nation." Following his active service at Cape May, Senator Nunn returned to the state of Georgia and was a member of the Coast Guard Reserve for 6 years, during which time he completed his law degree and began his long and storied legal and political career and his many decades of public service. We like to think that Senator Nunn's Coast Guard experience helped prepare him for his leadership role in areas closely tied to the sea services. For example, Senator Nunn, as the ranking member of the Armed Services Committee, chaired by Senator Barry Goldwater, was confronted with a succession of watershed events over the preceding decade where our sea services and other parts of the military were widely blamed for failures due to uncoordinated operations. Senator Nunn responded by setting his compass on a course for change and co-led the effort to draft the landmark Goldwater-Nichols Act, which was signed into law in 1986. The act made major changes that improved the interoperability of the sea services, enhanced the quality of military advice to a strengthened civilian chain of command, required joint planning across the military, fostered the professional development of officers, and reformed the acquisition of military equipment. The act passed with wide bipartisan support and proved its worth in Panama, Bosnia, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Senator, our joint forces continue to succeed today, enabled by the very principles that you promoted. As another example of Senator Nunn's critical leadership of the sea services, with the rise of powerful Colombian drug cartels in the early 1980s, traditional means of counter-drug operations were overmatched. In response, Senator Nunn championed legislation to authorize Coast Guard law enforcement detachments to employ on U.S. Navy ships operating in areas frequently trafficked by drug traffickers. Due to his foresight, over just the last 5 years, Coast Guard cutters and law enforcement detachments embarked on Navy and Allied warships have removed more than 500 metric tons of cocaine with a wholesale value of $17 billion. This is approximately 3 times the amount of cocaine at twice the average purity of that collectively seized at all our air, land, and sea borders and domestically by all other U.S. federal, state, local, and tribal law enforcement agencies combined. In both these examples, Senator Nunn established a sense of urgency, created guiding coalitions, developed and conveyed a vision, removed obstacles, generated short-term wins, and kept on persisting. We in the Coast Guard like to think that we had a little part in arming Senator Nunn with these laudable skills. We also hope that we helped lay some of the foundation of his selfless public service and dedication as exemplified by the Coast Guard's core values of honor, respect, and devotion to duty. In any event, his life's body of work is most certainly in keeping with those core values and the highest traditions of the United States Coast Guard. Please accept my heartiest congratulations and thanks to you, Senator Nunn, for your service on behalf of the Commandant of the Coast Guard and the men and women of the United States Coast Guard. Semper Paratus, and roll the video.